Hey ladies, it's Jen Mack, Lady of the Mind. Welcome to today's episode where I hope I'm finding you having a wonderful life. If you are not having a wonderful life, then it is my intention that in today's episode I give you just one nugget of inspiration towards your transformation. Now, we are continuing on with my Christmas movie analogies for life and how they resonate with us on an emotional level. And my favorite number one movie that I'm going to end 2022 with in this topic is It's a Wonderful Life with Jimmy Stewart. When I first watched this movie, I was with my grandma, who is my mom's mom. She's Sicilian, my grandma and grandpa's house. I was there for the week. They lived in southern Michigan in Detroit. Small town, I'm sure you've heard of it. And I was probably 11 years old, 10 or 11 years old. And I remember them watching it. And then I would go there for a week, and then they would come back up to my house, which was at Central Michigan, and stay for a week. And it was just before Christmas, and I remember watching this movie with my grandma, and I didn't understand any of it. I didn't understand any of it. And it didn't rile me up in any kind of an emotional way, but as I grew into adulthood, I remember kind of seeing it, play here and there, and they show it a couple different times in Christmas movies, like in the background, they show it. And Frank Capra, who's the producer of It's a Wonderful Life, never intended for it to be a Christmas movie. But it's really interesting because the end scene all happens right around Christmas, right? And I feel like it is a true Christmas movie because the people say so. They say that it's a Christmas movie, and so there it is. And I remember in my adulthood, as if you've listened to my podcasts, you understand or have heard me say that my grandma, who's my mom's mom, was my best friend. I could literally say anything to her. I loved her to death. She made me feel important. She spent quality time with me. She spent time getting to know me. So if you have kids, please do this. If you have grandkids, please do this because it was a life-changing relationship for me. And so as I grow into adulthood and get a house or an apartment or something, and I'm settled in, I got a TV, and I'm going to watch some Christmas movies, I didn't pull that one out at first. But when I did start watching it, that movie changed my life. The other two movies that I talked about in previous episodes, which is The Grinch and A Christmas Carol, they all have, to me anyway, they all have an emotional foundation that elicits a response from me. And in The Grinch, it's allowing, where at the end, he's so addicted to his emotions, he's so addicted to being negative and hating everything in the world, that at the very end, he allows Cindy Lou Who in just a little bit, and it expands and completely changes his life by allowing. He allowed that friendship to form. He allowed her compliments to get into his heart. Then in The Christmas Carol, where we're talking about the past, the present, and the future, and the ghosts of Christmas that visit Ebenezer Scrooge, and in the end, he lives a present moment life. And it's very exciting, as he comes out of what this dream state, or however you want to interpret what he went through in the middle of the night. But he gets to this end and he realizes he needs to be in the present moment. He needs to live in the present and not be so addicted to the future and being a miser and hoarding his money, right? And not sharing his money with anybody. And then in this movie, It's a Wonderful Life, I bet you can guess it. I bet you can guess the emotion. The scene that gets me every single time is when after he's just run through town, he punches Bert in the face, he gets thrown out of the bar, he runs down the street where Bert's shooting at him. Nobody knows who he is because he has asked Clarence, the angel, his guardian angel, that to make the wish that he was never born. Because his life was so difficult and he was missing $8,000 that Uncle Billy had lost and given to Mr. Potter. If you haven't seen the movie, please go watch it and pay attention because there's so many wonderful, powerful messages within this script by Frank Capra. So he runs through the town, he goes back to the bridge, and he's just like, he misses his life. He misses Mary, who's his wife. He misses his kids. His whole entire life is transformed. And he just doesn't have the friendship, the community, the support that he was looking for. So he's like, just forget it. I'm going to end my life. I don't know what I'm doing. This whole Bedford bank and loan is like missing all this money. One of us is going to jail, this whole thing. My whole entire life is upside down. I didn't get to go on adventure. I worked with my dad, then my dad died. I sent Harry to college. I didn't go to college. Now I'm here and I'm stuck and I'm just not. And then Harry was going to come back and work, which is his younger brother. He ends up getting married and taking a job in New York. This is how many times I've watched this movie. And he doesn't end up going. His life is not what he wanted it to be. His life is not what he thought it was going to be. So then he's like, I'm going to throw myself off a bridge. And his guardian angel shows up. And his guardian angel throws himself off the bridge. And George jumps in after him to rescue him. And the story just unfolds. And now he's raced through town. He basically knows nobody. Nobody knows him because he gets his wish that he was never born. And if he was never born, then nobody would know who he was, even his own mother. So he's running through town. He's having quite the breakdown. He runs back to the bridge and he begs and he prays for Clarence, who's his guardian angel, to give him his life back. Please, Clarence, I want to live again. It doesn't matter what's going to happen to me. I want to live again. He's asking for his own life back. He's asking for the life that he's created to come back into his present moment. I don't want to be a nobody, even though I'm going to be nobody who doesn't work at the bank and loan, who I don't have to, or building and loan, that's what it's called. And I don't owe this $8,000 and nobody knows. I totally can start a brand new, fresh life. And he decides he doesn't want that. He decides that there's value in his life. And then when he makes this wish and he turns around and Bert is there and he's like, George, I'm coming to find you. And he's like, Bert, do you know me? And he's like, well, yeah, idiot. I've known you my whole life. Come on. The whole town's waiting for you. Mary's waiting for you, which is his wife. And he runs back to his home. And in that scene, because I already know and I'm already anticipating, even if I've watched it 53 times, that scene, as it starts to unfold, begins to show him, one person at a time, all of the lives he has touched. And the community shows up at his house, in his living room, giving donations to help replace and to replace the money that Uncle Billy lost. And firsthand, one person at a time, he gets to see the lives that he's touched. I cry like a baby, especially at the scene when the bell rings on the Christmas tree and little Zuzu says, when the teacher says, when the bell rings, an angel gets its wings. And then George says, attaboy, Clarence. And I'm a blubbering idiot. Now, why am I a blubbering idiot during that scene of the movie? Now, there's a lot of people that do not like that movie. I try to talk about it with my mom, and she hates that movie, and I don't understand why. I don't get it, because it resonates so deeply with me, because it gives me an opportunity to look at my life, and go, what are you complaining about? Parenting is hard. Running a business is hard. Sometimes just being a family member during the holidays is hard. And sometimes life just beats you up. And it's hard. It's hard to choose living every single day. It's hard to choose the practice that is going to create and unfold your life how it's meant to be, how you want it to be, making those significant changes so you can live a life that you deem to be appropriate. But I'm asking you, if you haven't seen the movie, please go see it, because it is such a wonderful way to look back at your life and say, you know what? You might be an entrepreneur, but right now you don't have a job. You don't have to punch a clock. You don't have to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to get dressed and go out in the winter and scrape your car and drive on slushy, crappy roads and go and sit in a cubicle for 8 hours or 9 hours or 10 hours, 5 days or 6 days a week. I have total freedom. I have total freedom of my day. I could work out all day long. I could play with the dogs all day long. I could watch movies. I can listen to music. I can work on my podcast. I can work on my business. I can do anything I want all day long. What in the world would I have to complain about? So I want you to stand back and I want you to look at your life. And I want you to look at it closely with a magnifying glass and go, what are the things in my life to be grateful for? And that is the foundation of this movie. That's what it resonates in me, is to look back at your life, even those things that you want to change, even if your life didn't turn out exactly how you wanted it to be, you can change it. You can look at your life and find those things to be grateful for. And you can change your mind and start living a different life right now. You can start looking at things differently. You can start to pick those things up that you are so grateful for. Because if you take all of the people you know, your family, your friends, your neighbors, your coworkers, and every single one of them acting as if they don't know you, and you could start at square zero. You could start back at zero, creating a completely different life. I ask you, would you? I know I wouldn't. I get in these spiral kicks sometimes and I start complaining about things, and I just got to stop myself and go, you know what? It was all of my choices and decisions and areas of focus that led me to this life, that led me to the partner, the house, the kids, the location, the job, the entrepreneurship, the business, the anything. And if I stand back and look at that, I wouldn't change a single thing. But there are things I would like to improve. So then I look forward and I say, okay, what am I going to change? What do I want to improve? What are things that I want to elevate just a little bit? Because you and I both know we have no idea about the lives we have touched. We have no idea about the lives that we have impacted with a smile, with a kind word or gesture, with a handhold or a hug. We have no idea the world and how we have impacted the lives, other people on this planet. I used to work at a school a long time ago. It was early 2000. I worked there for 5 years, and there was a student there. And I have been kind of watching her from the distance. I worked there for 5 years. She was a student there. She had a younger sister. Her mom was a single mom and a little bit on the need some support side. And she ended up putting this girl, her and her sister they're probably 3 or 4 years apart, I think, I would guess. And her sister and she were very close, but her mom ended up putting her in foster care, the older sister, and kept custody of the younger sister. And I remember hearing that and feeling very heartbroken about that, like how much she would have a hard time with her younger sister. I thought that was very difficult to hear and to witness, this little bit of an emotional roller coaster that this young lady was experiencing, that she gets put into foster care. And she ended up switching schools, so I didn't see her again for a very, very long time. And she ends up switching schools because she's in foster care, and the foster parents can put her anywhere, and they thought that it would probably be a better idea that she didn't go to school where her younger sister went. And they had to see her every day, or maybe at the end of the day, she would run into her mom. She thought that it would probably be too much for her to handle. And even though I missed this young lady in my class, I probably would have agreed with that. So she went to a different school, and it wasn't until after I adopted Bob, it might have actually been before I adopted Bob, that we were a part of the organization that my foster care license was through. And I saw her at one of the events. And I gave her a big hug, and I talked to her for a couple of minutes, and she had led, so far, she was probably 18, 19 years old. She had led a pretty difficult life. You know, this was really challenging for her. And I talked to her for a few minutes, and she didn't seem like she was all that happy about life. And I wished her well. And she was talking about how she wanted to go to college and go into nursing, and she wanted to have a family and was looking forward to having kids. And I asked her how her younger sister, and if she had contact, and she said, yeah, and she didn't blame her younger sister, and they have a relationship, you know. And I just said, keep dreaming. I said, no dream should ever go untapped. And I gave her a big hug and we went about our evening. Well, we became friends on Facebook, and I kind of followed and I checked in with her and asked how she was doing, and I commented on some of her pages or some of her posts and stuff like that, and kind of kept an eye on her. And then it was just maybe a year and a half ago, she got married. And so I checked out his profile picture to make sure he was suitable. He was going to be a good guy, because she deserved the best. And she was an amazing young lady. Well, and then just recently, now I'm seeing pictures of her, being pregnant and having a baby. And then she had this, little baby boy, and he's just the cutest little thing. And I'm just like, wow, this is so amazing. I'm so happy for you. And a few comments here and there because, he's really cute. Well, then all of a sudden, I get a message via Facebook, literally 5 days ago, that says, Jen Mack, I want to thank you actually, I'm going to read it to you. I want to find it right now, and I want to read it to you because I think it's awesome, and it was like crazy. She writes, quite a few years ago, you told me, quote, dreams should never go untapped. And I just want to thank you for that because I still hold that close to my heart. And I'd like to think that a lot of my dreams have come true because of those words you spoke to me. Now, when I read that, I immediately think of It's a Wonderful Life. Because of any of those times, long, long time ago, when I wanted to take my own life because my life was so hard and I couldn't figure things out and I didn't have the love and support, that if I actually would have succeeded with any suicide attempt, that I wouldn't have spoken those words to her. And where would she be today? Would she still have this husband and this new baby? Would she have grown into the wonderful young lady that she is today? Would she have gone to college? Because these were all her dreams. So we have no idea the impact that we make on other people. But I will tell you this, being in this business and standing here right now while it's 24 degrees outside, while my dogs sleep curled up on the couch, as I pace back and forth in my living room, recording this podcast for you, that I want you to look at your life, even if you are in these these dire straits, that you are in a bad relationship, or you don't have any money, or your health is terrible, or your household is awful, and you have a crappy career or a crappy job, or maybe you don't have a job at all. Everything can change. And I want you to know that I got your back, that I'm here, that I'm sending out love to you every time, every step I take when I record my podcast. That I just want you to know that I love you, that I cherish you, and I appreciate you sitting or laying or standing wherever you are on this planet, listening to my words. I want you to know that I got you, that I am working hard to create episodes, words, or programs that can help just to elevate you a little bit more in your life, giving you those simple yet powerful tools that just can propel you forward in the fastest amount of time. Nobody has time, right? We don't want to be sick. We don't want to be in terrible relationships. We don't want to have crappy jobs and no money. We want to have a life that is wonderful. We want to have a life that is worth living, something where we can express ourselves without judgment, and we can live an inspired life that we can inspire others to do the same. And I hope that I'm doing that for you, because even though life is really challenging, life can also be amazing, and it can be a wonderful experience if we just learn a few tools that resonate with us, that we can begin to utilize, we can begin to implement. So I hope that when you're listening to me, you have your notebook out or your journal and you're writing just a few of those nuggets down, because I think it's important to implement a few things here and there as you're going. And as you see that it works, even if it's just a little elevation in your mood, a little bit more spring in your step, then keep doing it, because it's the little things at our emotional level that begin to change when we begin to change. So I appreciate you listening. And if you have listened to this whole episode, I encourage you to just take a snapshot of your life, look back in your past, and being grateful for all of the ups and the downs that you have had in your life. Be grateful for the joy and the happiness and the love that you have experienced, but also be grateful for the down times, the sadness, the pain, the heartache that you've experienced, because the more that you understand that, the more sweet it is to understand and to experience the other. I know heartache, unfortunately, all too well, which is what gives me such an appreciation for my current relationship, of how much love and friendship and fun that Amy and I have. Every day I give gratitude for my wonderful relationship with her. And I want you to have the same thing. I want you to not sit back and be jealous about my relationship, but I want you to understand that I too could have been in your shoes with a terrible relationship, one that you're like, oh my God, like how did it ever get this bad? That you just want to crawl in a hole, or you just want to run away screaming. You too can have an amazing relationship, and you too can have a wonderful life. And I just want to wrap this episode up, and I want to say thank you so much for a wonderful year. 2022 has had its ups and downs, but I have an entire box full of things to be grateful for that I read on New Year's Eve before midnight. I spend the evening during the commercials of when we're watching the New York Times ball drop and all the concerts and all that stuff. Then during the commercials, I pull these pieces of paper out and I go over the entire year of 2022 of all the things to be grateful for. And I write down all these different things, from business to interactions with the kids, to visits, to phone calls, to reviews, whatever. Wonderful, wonderful moments in time of the past year. And it's a lot of fun to just go back and to reread all of these events, these things for me to be grateful for. I would encourage you to bring in the 2023. It's a wonderful tool to have. I've been doing it for, I think this is my 4th year. And it's a wonderful tool. I literally just have, it's like an old cigar box, and it's this wooden box, and I cut up all these pieces of paper, and I put a clip in there, and I put a pen in there, and then throughout the year, I pull it, just sits on my desk, and I pull this thing. I'm like, oh my God, that was such an amazing movie that we went and saw, and it was so much fun. And I write down, and I write the date and the year, and they all stay in this box. And at the end of the year, I open this box, and I just, one at a time, I pull these little pieces of paper out, and I read them out loud. And I encourage you to do it. I encourage you to keep the items for yourself in front of you with gratitude. And I want to thank you for listening, and thank you for following me. And I hope that you share my podcast with others as I'm trying to expand my reach to the sisters of the world to create an empowered community. And if you have already left a review, I appreciate your honesty. And if you haven't, please do so on whatever platform you're listening to me on, as it helps to spread the word, and it helps to encourage me to continue on my journey and sharing my simple yet powerful tools and techniques that I'm finding along my journey. I want to let you know that I will be taking a break from regular episodes until sometime in the new year, as I am restructuring and programming, trying to make my podcast even better. So I will see you in the new year, and please just keep going forward, keep growing, keep inspiring each other's. Please be kind to one another, as nobody knows what their journey is. Take care of yourselves. Happy New Year, and I'll see you in 2023.